What's up, guys? Our wrestling podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Jess, the Total Package, Craig, the British Bulldog, and Cousins off this week, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Can someone feed me today's topic?
Dave, we were talking about one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time. WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 3, Fall Brawl 1998. Truly at the height of WCW's powers. I can't say enough about it. We're going to have a lot of fun going in this. This might go 3 hours. Just the pantheon of wrestling. This is just fantastic. Stay tuned, everyone.
Oh, for audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast. Or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or catch us on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. Jess, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Why do you?
Can I make a statement? I know what you're gonna say.
Before you do it, why do you do this to us?
I know what you're going to say, but hear me out. So I'm just as appalled as you. So last year we reviewed last September Fall Brawl 1997, and that was just a fucking delight. It was like a chocolate cupcake with a little swirl of whipped cream on top, and it was just lovely. So in my mind, I already knew when I texted you guys and said we're going to review Fall Brawl 98. I already knew that the main event sucked. It's historically a shitty match, but I was not prepared for the undercard to anally, no, I don't want to say anally.
Whoa.
To just completely take advantage of me and just throw me around the room. And I was really, really surprised like that it was this bad. And I don't like to start reviews like off by saying this is shit, because why is anybody else going to listen?
Well, that's what makes it more fun, honestly.
But
that's why I tried to lie and cover it up, and I tried to sell it. You think I like this piece of shit? It's horrible. From start to end, nothing makes sense.
Yeah. This was seriously just a massive load of shit. Like, this was so brutal. And this was 1998. Yes, they had already started losing the Monday Night Wars, but they were still putting up amazing numbers, selling out arenas. 1998 was WCW's highest financial year in history. Like, so they still, with this horse shit, they still were like hanging in there. Nitro was still doing like 4 million viewers every week.
Okay, so this takes place on September 13th of 1998 in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, at the Lawrence Joe Veterans Memorial Coliseum.
Flair country, baby.
There you go.
Flair country.
Attendance of 11,528.
Horsemen are going over tonight.
No retreat, no surrender. One rule: take no prisoners. One man, one way, one desire.
Oh,
I can't help myself. Okay.
I know, and I did not do the WWE champions because I was so pissed, and I'm not even kidding you. I kept trying to go, I got to go and find out who WWF champions were, and then something else appalling would happen, and I'd be like, well, what are we doing here? Like, and I would get mad, and then I would start writing my notes real hard on the pay-per-view, and I'd be like, okay, I gotta go get the WWE champions.
There is some fun stuff here. We have commentators are Tony Schiavone, Bobby Heenan, and Mike Tenay. Our interview is Gene Okerlund. Referees are Randy Anderson and Mickey Henson.
I knew I was in for a lot of trouble when the opening shot of Tenay and Heenan and Tony Schiavone, and they were trying to explain the changes in War Games, and they couldn't even explain it to themselves. Yeah. They didn't even understand the rules of the match that were going to be 3 hours later, and they couldn't sell it to you. And at that point, I was like, oh shit. It's like, this is...
So, Jess, did you look up the WW?
No, I didn't. No, I legitimately kept trying to do it, and I was getting more and more upset because I was watching the pay-per-view at the same time, and like, this is no excuse, but I was that mad at this pay-per-view. I was really mad. And all joking aside, at some point, WCW decided it would be fun to not book pay-per-views like a pay-per-view, to start booking it like a Nitro. And that's exactly what this pay-per-view reminded me of. It was booked exactly like a shitty Nitro. Whereas we talked about Fall Brawl 97 last year, it was booked like a pay-per-view. Like, it was had the packages of all the feuds, and they played it. And even their packages on this one made me want to punch a donkey, because I could not, like, all their video packages were just shit. Like, and it was the weird cuts and flashes, and like, I was like, and the tank that I was so mad. I was like, I need this to stop.
It was
like
pure. It was pure laziness. The packages had no editing. They were just like 30, 45-second long clips strung together. So each promo package was like 5 minutes and didn't tell a story. It just showed everything from the build up without any edits. It was ridiculous.
This random says a quick version of it is full of terrible matches, has multiple bait and switches, builds up some of its matches on the show itself, but because it forgot to announce them ahead of time, then baits and switches some of those. It might lack the manic work shoot of a company falling apart nature of the late area WCW shows, but the fact that it exists and the nexus between when we thought the product was good and we all accepted it, it made it that much worse. Like, wow.
It does take a while for something to fall. It does take months because the people that were watching WCW up to this point were still willing to give it a chance. Once you get a habit into your life, it takes a while to work it out. Whether it's you eat healthy and then you end up going back to shit food, it takes a while for that to happen because you're fighting to eat healthy and you're fighting to try, and then you fall off the wagon and then you fight again, and it's just a whole thing. Same thing with viewing habits. Like people knew it. If you just went when they sucked, people should stop watching this program at this point because it's like, what the fuck? Like this is just absolute trash. But people were like, no, it's WCW, it's NWO, it's Sting. And so people still wanted to believe in it. And wrestling was so hot, people were putting up with more shit.
Can I ask a crazy question here? I know we're trying to get into the first match, but I'm just noticing that this is a War Games situation, which means there's 2 rings, right?
Yeah. Yes, there's 2 rings.
So why would you use the ring for most matches with the trapdoor on
it? Davey Boy asked that same question.
When he was almost paralyzed? Okay, I'm just curious.
I'm
just curious!
What Dave Butterfield is referring to for the folks out there is we'll talk about it later, but there was a gimmicked ring because there was a secret entrance later on in the night, and so one of the rings was gimmicked for said trapdoor to happen for a certain someone, and in the opening match, something happened on that trapdoor and a wrestler, because there was no give on that trapdoor, and
we have
an injury happened.
We have 2 rings with one probably doesn't have a fucking trapdoor on it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, they always used to switch rings because it kind of to split it up, I think, for the fans that are like further away on the other ring. But for this one, they absolutely shouldn't because of that trapdoor, and it was a danger, and it ended up being a danger. But before we even get to the opener, you want to talk about upsetting people right off the bat. Before you even go to the bell of the first ring, Chris Jericho comes out and says that it's going to be a title for title unification match with Goldberg tonight.
Jericho is the television champion,
and he sells it to the audience in attendance there, who believe that it's going to be Jericho. And
I was going to say that's the opening segment. Jericho comes out and continues. He had been baiting Goldberg for a couple of weeks leading up to this. Now the legendary story, and I might fuck it up a little bit, but Jericho writes about it in his book. Nobody watched him, so basically he got over with the Jericho and the ponytail that looked like a fountain of hair, and
that's a really good statement. Nobody kept an eye on Jericho.
Yeah, because he said nobody fucking pre-checked anything. So every week he came up and he started developing the Monday Night Jericho gimmick, and he had Ralphus come out in a belly shirt and stuff like that.
He wanted.
So he one week he just said, "They're all, hey, your segment's this long or whatever," and he's like, "All right, well, I'm gonna make fun of Goldberg," and nobody stopped him because nobody cared. So once he started doing it, it pissed Goldberg off in the back, and Goldberg had people in his ear. Goldberg had people's ear going, "Oh no, dude, he's a cruiserweight. Don't like lower yourself to that." Blah blah blah. But no one stopped Jericho. He continued to do it. So he would come out every week and challenge Goldberg, and then he would do the entrance where somebody would knock on the door, and he would come out of his dressing room like Goldberg, and then he would get lost like 4 things or whatever, barely any fireworks, and it was awesome. It was really funny. But they opened the pay-per-view up with this. So now you think Goldberg, who is the world champion, who was not on this card. All of a sudden now you're thinking, oh shit, the crowd went crazy when he said it's going to be Jericho and I, and then they were like, we don't know that, we never got that information, blah blah blah. So they lead off with the thing, and you're like, okay. I was like semi intrigued because I remember this happening, but I was like, I don't remember what happened. I remember Goldberg finally got his revenge, but it wasn't on this pay-per-view, obviously. And Jericho wrote in his book that Hogan was also in Goldberg's ear saying, don't do it. So Jericho went to Hogan at one point in time, and he said, why would you not want him to get heat? It doesn't make any sense. I'm not even saying I want to have a competitive match with the guy. He could beat me in 20 seconds. I don't care. It's the exposure and listen to the crowd. So Bischoff finally agreed to be like, fine, you're never going to have a match with him, but he'll spear you in the aisleway and he'll finally get his revenge on you or whatever. And then like, he's like, okay. So he did it. The crowd went nuts. And he said he went back and Hogan walked into his dressing room and said, I should have listened to you the whole time. You were right. And Jericho's like, see, Hulk Hogan and I are best friends. And in his book, he would just, after every time he talked about Hogan, see, Hulk Hogan and I are best friends. Like, and he said, so even Hogan after a while was like, yeah, no, he was right. Like Jericho, you should have listened to him. And so there was just people in Goldberg's ear here. Goldberg didn't know any better. He was green as shit to the business, especially the politics. And people were like, dude, no, like he didn't know what heat was. He didn't know what psychology was, Goldberg. He just knew he was massively popular and he speared people and killed them in 20 seconds. And everybody should fall to that. And so Jericho is this cruiserweight trying to make a name for himself and no one's watching him. He's like a pit bull without a leash. And like, so he got to get out there and he got to open the pay-per-view and continue this thing on. And so
I wouldn't even call him a pit bull. He's like an ankle biter at this point.
Yeah, it was funny. It was funny for what it was, but you never ended up getting the payoff. I know we're going to get to it later, but Goldberg wasn't even there. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So we can go to the first match then. The opening tag team contest is Alex Wright and Disco Inferno against the British Bulldog and Jim the Anvil Neidhart. 11 painful minutes and 3 seconds. I put not even good for a Nitro match. Man, it was really hard to watch the Bulldog here. He was not healthy. I'll let you guys talk about the infamous.
Jess,
this is the infamous match with the trapdoor.
You forgot to mention that these are the Dancing Fools, Alex, right?
Yes, they are the Dancing Fools. And I couldn't tell who the heels or faces were in this.
Neither could I. Yeah, 1,000%. I had no clue.
So because of this infamous injury that Davey Boy took here in this match, he barely got Disco up for his power slam at the end of the match, and it was hard to watch. This is the guy who power slammed a 300-pound warlord with no problem. This is the guy who had power slammed Vader, no problem. And then he goes to lift up Disco Inferno, who's like 215 pounds. And he struggled to get him up and he had to try twice. And then Disco had to grab the ropes and help him. It was really sad to watch him here. I gave it a D.
With that was a tag, wasn't it? Trying to muscle him up. And look at Disco fight it. Fight the stampede, but he cannot. 1, 2, 3.
Well, you got to get Disco a lot of credit here with the power and the muscle of this man, Davey Boy Smith, the British Bulldog. He tried to power him up on his shoulders, and I'm telling you, Disco fought it all the way.
I should have given it an F, but I was sad. I was really legit.
You're sympathetic to the plight of Davey Boy.
So I gave it a D. And Davey did get the power slam, and he got the pin on Disco. And Davey and Jim Neidhart won.
I'll give it a D plus just for the effort after you pretty much tore your back to pieces, and you made a comeback afterwards. By the way, which we don't really talk about much, but yeah, I'll give it a D plus. But yeah, it's too long, and I think Craig made this this comment before we started. Davey's beat up before he even walks into this match.
Yeah, he was not in good shape.
He's in a bad way. He's in a bad way. He doesn't look good. He definitely is. I think Craig said purple. It's the term.
It's just like when the steroids stop working and the body's just like it's just blotchy and purple and it's just in bad shape.
And basically you're just kind of a bloaty mess. And that's hard to say because I think we all love Davey Boy here. And you can tell he's in a bad way. And to put him in there with these young guys that honestly can do great work and Jim Neidhart, I hate to say it, like Jess made the joke like Jim looked better than Davey, which should never happen. Jim can't work past a suplex and a backdrop. I mean, I'm just being real about it. He comes in there and then he does a backdrop and then it's over. And then he gets beat up and Bret Hart, takes care of business. That was the 10-year game. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know why you're putting these great young talents. Alex Wright and Disco should have been up against a Jericho and someone of talent of that nature to really tear the house down in an opener if we want to be, fantasy bookers. And yeah, I give it a D plus because I got a soft spot for Davey.
Yeah, I give it a D minus. I think just because there was some good spots in it, but it was clunky. It was old school. They didn't gel. There was no chemistry. I kind of I think Davey and Jim Neidhart should have been able to carry these guys into something, even just on muscle memory. But no, it was not good. Shouldn't have opened with this whatsoever. There was nothing, to Jess's point, who are the heels, who are the faces. It was ridiculous. And then to boot, the story is Davey Boy gets backdropped on the trap door. Yes. Hurts his spine, which puts him in hospital for about 6 months. He gets fired by FedEx by WCW, and he has another run, but within 4 years, Davey has passed away. So to Jess's point, this is extremely sad.
Somebody wrote, it's like bumping on the floor at a Walmart.
Was there a segment?
I think after that, there was a Steiner interview. Although this was the J.J. Dillon, Buff Bagwell, and Scott Steiner, where Scott tries to get out
Scott
of...
Steiner had been... The storyline was he had turned earlier in the year, in February, at Super Brawl against his brother and joined the NWO, but they bled it all the way here to September. WCW. And so Scott is trying as hard as he can. He had a Band-Aid on his bicep, saying he had a bicep injury, which is kind of funny, actually. Because I just wanted a fucking blood feud with the Steiner brothers, man. But they actually never really wanted to face each other, to their credit, in the back. And they did it begrudgingly. They've always respected each other, and they knew what each other could do, and they never wanted to face each other. Promoters have tried for years to split the Steiners up, and they're like, nope, like, not going to do it. And then they finally did it here at the beginning of 1998 at Super Brawl. And Scott joined the NWO and dyed his hair blonde and changed his whole look and whatever. Yeah. So yeah, then we go to the payoff of the opening segment. Chris Jericho, by the way, sorry, J.J. Dillon pretty much said, if you don't fight your brother, you are going to be suspended or something like that, and fined. I don't know what they do back here.
Blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah. And so the next match is, if you can call it a match, is Chris Jericho against Minnie Goldberg. And I don't mean little person Goldberg. It's a smaller person, but I don't know if he was legally a little person. He was like in the odd thing where he was.
He's a regular guy.
He was.
Guy.
Yeah. So Goldberg was supposed to come out, and the music played, and then a smaller version of Goldberg came out. The match was, if you call it a match, 1 minute, 15 seconds. Jericho even let him get some offense in. He let him get speared, which is funny. I put such good shit. If it was a Nitro, not a pay-per-view, this would have been super hilarious on a Nitro skit. But a pay-per-view, fuck this shit. And a pay-per-view where Goldberg didn't even come out and get his comeuppance, fuck this shit. I love Jericho here. I love Monday Night Jericho, this version of him. Jericho wins, obviously. I didn't give it a grade because it wasn't technically a match. It was a fun segment, but it didn't belong on a goddamn pay-per-view. The payoff belongs on the pay-per-view. Go ahead.
The real thing. He's wearing out his shoes on that imposter. A lion tamer.
And the lion tamer, he taps out of me.
Now Jericho is going to claim that he's the world champion now.
He's going to claim he stopped the winning streak. I bet you.
Yeah. No, I give it a D. Jericho's funny, and the whole kicking over the pyro when it doesn't work, the entire
I'm watching
the title entrance.
I'm watching the replay on that.
It is good, but then the crowd's pissed. The crowd expected Goldberg. People at home who spent $25.95. I don't know. I forget what they were at that time. I know
$30. I think you're right. 30, 34.
So it's like, I mean, maybe I try to put ourselves in our position back then. Did we know that there was no way in hell that Goldberg was coming out, or I think we probably did get excited that maybe it was happening. I don't remember.
But you also, in your mind as a fan, you're like, it's the second match. There's no way Goldberg is coming out.
But at least they did it early so people weren't pissed later on in the card. But still, just weird.
Too bad you had nothing to make up for it. I'm sorry. Oh, what?
Yeah.
No, it's just crazy.
But so next, the next match is Norman Smiley against the Cat Ernest Miller.
What are we doing?
5 minutes and 4 seconds. So apparently this is an episode of Thunder now. Because that's what quality of match this is. As far as their opponents, I'm not shitting on any of their athletic ability, but as far as
they're not, there's no build behind.
Yeah, why is a Thursday Night Thunder match on this pay-per-view?
There was an interview to set up this match. There was an interview before this with Mike Tenay for WCW International, interviewing the Armstrongs outside the arena. And then, like, Ernest the Cat Miller is like, "What about me?" Or like, whatever. Like the Armstrong
funny.
Brothers. He was very funny. Yeah. And this was Norman Smiley. He wasn't Big Wiggle Norman Smiley yet here.
No, he wasn't Big Wiggle yet. No.
So you couldn't even see his face. Like Norman Smiley's in a satin jacket, like tries to stop it, and so the match starts from there. And that's what the big build up for this kind of match was Ernest the Cat Miller was trying to kind of get TV time, interrupting everybody. Yeah. So. And that led to this.
So he was like 1998's Kanye. I'm gonna let you finish, but
Miller does get the pin. It seemed like a lot longer than 5 minutes, and I gave it a C because they weren't like they surprisingly were trying to work really hard with each other, and but it's just you should have been on a Thunder. You shouldn't have been on the pay-per-view. It's not their fault. They're not going to this again. No to a pay-per-view payoff. No thanks. We're not ready. It's like, oh, we're gonna get that much more money for doing a pay-per-view. Yeah, we'll be there. So now the next match goes into so many mixed emotions. Let me compose myself for a minute on this one. Oh, fucker.
Just fart it out.
Scott Steiner versus Rick Steiner. 5 minutes and 30 seconds, you say? I said, seriously, this has got to be an episode of Nitro, right? It has to be. Like, I thought I was watching Fall Brawl, but I actually turned on Nitro is what I thought. I was actually into their brawling because they started getting really snug with each other, and I was like, here we go. And it just started getting good until they totally killed the crowd with that stupid fucking buff angle where they mocked his real-life neck injury. So for those people who don't know, months before on Thunder, he really got a stinger in the middle of the ring, and people thought he was going to die. He took a Bulldog wrong from Rick, and he was literally like, you could go back on the network, they left it in there. He had to get taken out on the stretcher. Buff Bagwell was paralyzed for a while, and then he finally started getting feeling back or whatever. Like, it was a serious fucking injury. So why not mock all the people, including Stone Cold, who that a year earlier that happened to live on pay-per-view? Why not mock all the people that have gotten spinal injuries? So they stopped the action. They had people come out. Scott Steiner broke character. Rick came over, broke character. You know, Bagwell's laying there going, my neck, I can't move. He's fucking laying on the apron. Totally ruins the match. They take him to that. They waste our time for about 15
minutes.
Yeah. Taking him out to the back.
And it wasn't real.
Load him into an ambulance. Scott and Rick are standing next to each other. And like they're looking at him. He goes in the ambulance. Scott says, I'm going to go in the ambulance with them. You stay here. I'm going to go. He gets in back. Rick turns around. Oh, the joke's on us. Both Buff and Scott pop out of the ambulance and attack Rick. Whee! That was the fucking payoff. That was what they did. It was so dumb. The match was a no contest. It's a goddamn fucking F. And I'm getting so heated right now. I'm legitimately getting mad. I was mad when I watched it. I was like, why the fuck would you do this to me, personally? And to the Steiner brothers, who will give you a good match.
All right, it's tough. Oh my goodness.
Oh my. Ladies and gentlemen, we wondered about how low they would go. We found out how low this is. This is not even one stone. They should be thrown out of wrestling for life right now.
Match. They never got the payoff. They never got it. This is a fucking Nitro angle. It's a dumb angle anyway. It shouldn't even been done on Nitro, for the record. But it's a dumb angle. It's meant for Nitro. This is not pay-per-view quality shit that we're getting here. Not from Rick and Scott. This is trash. Go ahead, Craig. Fuck.
Well, I don't know. Craig, what else do you have? I mean, seriously.
No, the only thing, the best part of this match is when Buff comes out of the ambulance and they attack Rick Steiner. And there's no payoff. Even this is the minimal payoff. They like kicked Steiner twice and pushed him in the door, and then they're immediately separated. And then Bagwell just says to the camera, "I was bullshitting."
Yeah,
and I was like,
and it's not. They might have been able to save it if JJ Dillon came out and said, "No, you're gonna fucking fight later again on the card, you assholes." Like, but nothing happened after that. They just. JJ Dillon said you're going to be suspended and die if you don't wrestle him. He wrestled him for 5 minutes. They fooled everybody. And then JJ's like, well, they got me on that one. They like so fucking stupid. Like so stupid. So the next match is for the Cruiserweight Championship. The champion, Juventud Guerrera, took on Silver King, 8 minutes, 36 seconds. Seriously, we are watching Nitro. Nothing against these guys, but this is a Nitro match. This doesn't belong on a fucking pay-per-view. Silver King does not belong on a sacred. Yeah, there's no storyline. Okay match. Hoovy gets the pin. It was meant to put him over. It was fine. It really was a decent match, actually, but it was a Nitro quality match. I was nice and gave it a B- because they are good wrestlers. That just,
all right.
Yeah, no.
You're gonna scream. You're gonna scream at me.
You gave it
so
an A,
I'm fully prepared for you to scream at me.
Yeah.
Because I'm comparing it to the garbage that was before it and comparing it to like just the card in general on a grading system.
There's actually logic in that.
This was, people are going to say, was it this one or the next one after this was the best match of the night? I was watching this back. I really enjoyed it. I gave it an A, and I loved that there was an inverted Frankenstein at the very end, which is fucking awesome.
Yes. They did good shit. Like they were really good.
He's been able to win with the Hoobie driver alone, but now he's going to try to follow that up maybe with a 50 here. Here it comes. 1, 2. He remains the champ.
Amigos, your winner is Juventud Guerrera.
And the fans appreciate Juventud and these efforts here. But I'm sure they appreciate Silver King and the effort in the game.
My B- is because I was angry. And
and that's completely fine. Once you're poisoned on this whole thing, you can get like that, and I've been like that on pay-per-views.
And
it's like,
honestly, this would have been a great Nitro match. They just still they were trying to really push Hoovy, which is great. You can't rely on Ray all the time, and or Dean or anybody like that. So I understand. But Silver King, come on, man, fuck. Like, no offense against Silver King, I'm sure he's a fine gentleman and he's a good wrestler. But
but no build.
Really
Who is he? Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So the next match is Dean Malenko versus Kurt Hennig. 14 minutes and 4 seconds. Why was Kurt wearing shorts?
Sorry, I missed a match. I did not mean to say earlier
Kurt
that it
was not
this
wearing
one.
his normal singlet. Kurt was wearing shorts, like basketball shorts that said NWO.
I'm telling you, he's not happy with his body here.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with Kurt here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Rude needed to eat a sandwich or get a smaller dress shirt because he looked skinny as fuck. Rick Rude did. Like, I was like, whoa, and he always wears baggy clothes.
He looked like me at my junior high prom when we back in the 90s when it was like that very skinny, like
big, and you had like
bulky shirts.
Yeah.
But Rick Rude shit, like he looked like he had a problem, right?
Yeah, he was super skinny.
Yeah.
Why did this match have to end in a DQ? It makes no sense. Hennig could have easily won due to Rude's interference, and Malenko getting pinned by Hennig would not have hurt him at all. It still would have advanced the storyline because Anderson was still pushing for Dean and blah, blah, blah. I gave it a C- because it could have been so much better. Kurt Hennig just didn't look himself here, and Dean didn't really know what to do with him. You have two amazing wrestlers on paper. This should have stole the show.
Oh my god.
This should have stole the show, but they never tried to even put them in it. 14 minutes is too long because the card was just fucking wearing down on me.
Like he wants to end it. Can he pick him up? Though the question. The answer is no. He couldn't get anybody close.
You need 2 legs for that.
Up. He's got his move. 1, 2. It brings Rude in. It brings in.
Referee's had enough.
That's right. Calls for disqualification. So maligned by DQ or disqualification.
I C-.
This guy's hot. So Malenko has the match and apparently completely forgotten how to wrestle with any. He starts working on Hennig's leg and then continues working the leg. Then he works on it for like 7 more minutes.
It's true.
Malenko is one of the best technicians in wrestling history, but part of his brain was convinced that the wrestling match everyone wanted to see was him lying on the ground, grinding a dude's limb for a quarter of an hour.
But in his defense, though, Hennig could have been calling those spots. Hennig may have been injured. And
I think so. Eventually, sure enough, Rick Rude jumps in and causes a DQ. They beat down Stinko Malenko until Arn Anderson makes the save, and then they beat him down. And you're like, yeah, here comes Ric Flair. The crowd is loudly chanting, "We want Flair." Instead of Flair, we do a tight close-up on Anderson's nerve-damaged hands so you can see how helpless and humiliated he is. And then
I don't think he'd come back yet. This was when Flair was out and being legitimately sued, and he was suing Bischoff, and Bischoff was suing him.
Fair, but
I think I can't remember. I have to look it up. I could be wrong.
That sounds right, though.
I think this was before the Nitro where Flair came back and cried and had that amazing moment.
It was, but there were rumors that they were coming to an agreement.
I don't care. You fire me.
And because it was North Carolina, and because everyone, there was "We Want Flair" chants in the beginning, kind of here in posters, and everyone thought it's Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Arn Anderson comes out to make the save after the match. After
they attack him.
Then they both just get laid out for no reason, and that's the end of it. And the entire match was awful. It was purely just 50 minutes of working on the knee.
What did you let the Horseman look good for even a second?
No, he can't. No, he can't. And Bischoff tries to defend it to this day, and it makes me upset. I'm like, you shit on them on purpose. Just admit it.
You need to stop.
I give it a D. It was terrible. Both these guys should have been able to tear it apart.
Oh, so the next match, you're gonna love this. Scott Hall versus Conan.
I think we missed. I think we missed one actually. I think we jumped Saturn and Raven. I think.
Oh my god, we did.
Yeah, that was
totally
before.
Fucking did, and that's my fault.
Yes,
I was so ready to hate on this card.
Yes.
So no, let's go back because So after the Juventud match, Saturn versus Raven. Raven's rules 14 minutes and 4 seconds. I put, sweet Lord, this was not Nitro. This match was goddamn fantastic. Nobody saw this coming. I remember during the day, people going, did you see Ravens and Saturn's match? I don't think I got this pay-per-view, surprise. And I was like, what? And I went back and watched it. And this match is so underrated and underappreciated. It's fucking ridiculous how good this match was. And the storyline was good. People popped for Saturn. They loved Saturn. And he's so underrated and so underappreciated. WCW never really knew how to book the Raven character, but man, these two guys knew what they were doing with each other because of their ECW days. Saturn got the pin and the crowd exploded. The last 5 minutes was gold. I gave it an A+. This shit was stellar. It was just amazing to watch. And it just showed them what they had. So let's keep pushing the NWO for another year. Why not? Fuck, man. You had these guys that Saturn was so organically over. It was crazy. People just wanted to love the guy and they just couldn't do it. They could not do it. A+. So I can't believe I skipped this match. It's the only thing. I don't even know if it saved the pay-per-view, but it's the only thing that I tell people, go back and watch. This match was just stellar. Just great shit.
Yeah.
So good.
This had the longest promo package ever, but it actually helped tell the story for me because I'd forgotten kind of the story. Indentured servitude. If Saturn lost, he'd have to be Raven's slave forever. Yeah. The breakup of the flock and saving each other and breaking fingers. Some really cool stuff in here. I gave it an A-. I thought it was it was fantastic. It went on just a smidge too long and a little bit overbooked, but you could tell they were trying to give it everything they had, from Raven kind of flying neck first into the railing, a table spot, bunch of Death Valley drivers and kickouts, involving the whole flock. And
when that
Canyon
hold spot on the chair is pulled off right, it's so good, man.
Yeah.
It's just so good still to this day. And Canyon is so fucking talented. Yes, and it might have been the next night on Nitro or shortly after. There's also another great promo. I want to say it might have been the next night on Nitro. Yeah. Where Saturn confronts Billy Kidman in the ring, and it's a genuine, it would be someone motivating a friend in the back. And you looked, and I'll never forget it. It was so earnest. It's why people like Saturn. He just he was awkward. He wasn't looking Billy in the eye, and he was looking down. He kept patting him on the shoulder. He's like, you know what? And you're really talented. You don't need this stuff anymore, and you don't need this gimmick. And I want you to go out, and I want you to win the Cruiserweight title, and I want you to realize your dream. And the crowd was standing for him and clapping during this promo.
Yeah.
And then Billy Kidman actually won the Cruiserweight title later that night, and the place went insane. And it's so I'm getting goosebumps because when a wrestler knows his craft and you connect with the crowd, there's nothing better because you just start believing in him, and it doesn't matter how silly. Dave made good points from this reviewer about how dumb the rules were if you think about it.
Sure.
But Saturn was so organic and people liked him. He was a badass in ECW.
Now I'm going to make you upset with this writer because he says, anyway, Saturn wins and we say goodbye to the flock. The flock died, so Tori Wilson's boyfriend, Billy Kidman, NWO member Horace Hogan, Lenny and Lodi, and a radical Perry Saturn being obsessed with a mob could live.
I mean, two different companies.
That's true. I mean, he just goes way.
And Saturn had a lot of demons, and maybe wasn't at the right mindset. But here, he was hitting a stride. The guy was so talented, and so many people have said that. If he didn't have demons, he'd be the greatest coach. He'd be the greatest in-ring performer. Saturn was so good.
All right.
Saturn! DVD! It's over!
What a victory! What a match!
You go home! You have been set free! But as Saturn said earlier, it's now not for the flock.
So
yeah.
Let's get into it.
It's wonderful.
Here we go.
Now we're going to go to the match that I just jumped ahead to. Scott Hall versus Conan, 12 minutes and 3 seconds.
Why?
My God, this was part of the incredibly untasteful angle where they exploited Scott Hall's real life because he was really going through substance abuse issues in life. So he would come down to the ring drunk here, and they decided to make it a real life angle because, he was really suffering through that, which is super intelligent to do. So Conan almost lost from a drunk Scott Hall because Scott Hall would get the advantage on him and stuff. So Conan is not good enough to completely dominate a drunk Scott Hall who is going out of his way to stammer around, between moves, he'd go take a drink, and Vincent would be like, "Are you okay, man? Are you okay?" Like if Vincent came down because they were part of the NWO, Black and White, and the match was so fucking bad because I'm sorry, man, I hate Konnan. Like I'm sure as a person, he's a good person, and a lot of people say that he's cool and all that, but I hated his wrestling style. I thought he was lazy as all shit, even though he was super over in the Wolfpack and his Orale, Adibarasa, like everybody chanted it. There's no question that Konnan was over, but this match was just terrible. The line of the night was Mike Tenay. The line of the night was Mike Tenay when Konnan put the Tequila Sunrise on Scott Hall, and Scott Hall tapped and submitted. Mike Tenay's line was, is he tapping out or is he just ordering another round?
I hate to say it, but I smell a tequila.
And you see one now. He tapped out.
There's the straw that stirs the drink. Konnan. Another round.
Now, was he tapping out or ordering another round?
He's tapped out.
Ladies and gentlemen, WCW 1998. Like I gave it a C-, and I'm looking at that grade going, why did I not give it an F? But I'll go with the C-.
You were sympathetic to Scott's play.
It was bad.
I'll go ahead and give that F for you.
Yeah, take the lead for me on that one. Because I don't know why.
We've been crossing signals on our grades tonight. But I texted the group. I was like, I gave it an F on Konnan's entrance.
So let's just get this shit over with. So the main event was the War Games cage match, and they changed the rules. Normally it's just 2 teams of 5, and they go out and they do a coin flip, and then whoever wins the coin flip gets the advantage. So a heel and a face always start, and then whoever wins the coin flip gets the advantage. And it's a 2-minute thing. So they'll start, 2 men start, and then every 2 minutes each other opposite member of the team come in. That's normally the rules. And then you can't win the match until after all people are in the ring, and then you submit or surrender, which is the same fucking thing.
Then the match beyond begins. War Games and Match Beyond begins then.
So, and you have to win by submission after all teammates have entered. So they changed it here to where you can win by pinfall, which completely defeats the point of teams here. And there's 3 teams to face. Yeah. You have the Warrior, Diamond Dallas Page, and Rowdy Roddy Piper, WCW side, against Hulk Hogan, Bret the Hitman Hart, and Stevie Ray, NWO Black and White, versus Sting, Luger, and Nash, NWO Black and Red Wolfpack. In a War Games match. The winner is the #1 contender to Goldberg's WCW Heavyweight Championship and gets to take him on at the next pay-per-view, which is Halloween Havoc.
Just in case you weren't clear that they were completely shitting on the entire T format of the reason why the match was created and the reason why it was to end feuds between teams. And just to make it perfectly clear that that's all out the window and it's literally every man for himself and the stupidest idea ever, the winner of this would fight Goldberg at Halloween Havoc.
So basically it was a mini.
So what's the point of the whole fucking thing?
Yeah. So basically it was a mini Royal Rumble, but you couldn't eliminate someone by throwing them over the top rope. It was a mini Royal Rumble in the cage that you could only win by pinfall, which made no sense because it was, first of all, it went 20 goddamn excruciating minutes.
Those guys don't know how to pull off a decent submission in there, so that's the point.
Yeah, first of all,
I can see it again. Hogan's like, that doesn't work for me, brother.
It was 20 excruciating minutes. This match was such a clusterfuck pile of shit. I can't even describe what the rules were supposed to be, so I'm not even going to try. Why the fuck?
That's what you wrote?
Yes. And I put, why the fuck is
You took the time to write it down.
Yes. And I also put, why the fuck is Stevie Ray in the main event ever in anyone's life ever? To start the match off with DDP and Bret Hart, only have it break down into the shit that we saw as unacceptable. And DDP and Bret were going for pins from the beginning. So if one of them got a pinfall, they would win the match and nobody else would come out and it would just be over. And it doesn't make any sense like why that would be a thing.
Yeah.
So if DDP or Bret would have pinned each other in the first 2 minutes when they were both in there, then it would have been over. And like, there was no reason, like, so why even have it? And then Stevie Ray comes in after that, and then they all try to get pinfalls on him. And I'm like, why in the fuck are you going for pinfalls? Why does it matter? So you're saying that you'd be okay with not everybody emptying the locker room and all the teams? So it defeats the team rule concept because the Warrior could pin Piper. Sting could pin Luger to win the match. So why are there teams?
So why wouldn't Hogan pin one of his own guys and a finger poke to him again?
Right. Or why would Hogan lock the rest of his team in and then leave for no reason? Oh, wait, he did that.
Yeah.
Hogan, yeah, I did that.
So when the Warrior finally gets out there, so Warrior gets out there, and they put Fog in there.
Yeah. Well, even before that, it's Hogan and the Warrior, the last two in, right? Hogan comes in and a minute and 20 early, and that's
Hogan
never explained why he comes in early.
So I missed this because I was probably trying to poke my eyes out with a spoon. Yeah. So tell me what happened. So before the Warrior came out, everybody was just laying down and sleeping. All of them. And I don't know why. I don't know what they could have brought in there that knocked them all unconscious. I literally missed it.
Stevie Ray's stupid slapjack that Hogan had.
I was just going to say the slapjack. Fuck.
Hogan came out and a minute and 20 too early before his time. No one did anything about it. Warrior doesn't come out early to save everybody after Hogan hits Stevie Ray's slapjack and knocks everyone out unconscious, and then leg drops Kevin Nash twice and could have pinned Kevin Nash.
Yeah. And went for the pin. Then the Fog comes in. Then the Fog dissipates, and you see who you thought was the Warrior with the Warrior robe on, pounding his chest. Hogan hits him from behind, starts beating him down. More Fog goes in the ring because the cage you see already is shitty visuals. So you have to, you can't, if they're shooting from outside the cage, you can barely understand what's going on. I can only imagine what the crowd saw through a chain link fence. You couldn't see shit. So then they make it worse by flooding Fog in to the Warrior. This is where the trapdoor came in. Hogan's beating down we'll learn later it was a fake Warrior. More Fog comes in, it dissipates again, and it's gone. So that's when they use the trapdoor. So they almost killed the British Bulldog because of just this stunt. Then the real Warrior comes running down the aisle from the locker room, gets in there. The crowd actually goes crazy for him. He starts punching everybody, clotheslining everybody, doing the whole thing. And then Hogan leaves, locks the cage to lock everybody else in there, which now he just pretty much said, fuck, I don't care if I'm number one contender or not. The Warrior said, I feel the same way, kicks the cage open, climbs out through the cage, and chases Hogan out. Okay, fine. It's furthering their feud. I was actually tolerant of that. But the clusterfuck that the whole card was before, the clusterfuck that you could just go for pins at random and it doesn't matter whose team you're on, made me upset all up to this point. So Hogan and Warrior leave, which is probably the best for everybody at this point. That's actually the best thing that happened in the match. And then after that, DDP gets a pin. He diamond cutters Steve. And also, I'm so fucking mad right now. I'm sorry, Craig. I'm taking up your time. Fuck. Then I noticed after all that happens,
is over anyway.
I understand that everybody was laying and playing dead because the slapjack is the most violent instrument in the history of professional wrestling. It knocked everybody out. Oh. So I understand why they were doing that while the Fog happened and they did the whole Warrior thing. But then when they go back and Warrior and Hogan left, they're all still. Nash is laying there stiff as a board. And I can only assume he was being a smart ass fuck while doing it because that's what Nash does. He was literally not moving, trying to make sure he couldn't. He was laying like he was a vampire in a coffin. And Sting and all of them were laying on top of each other the morning after a big orgy. And and so it's like they had a wrestling orgy and they all just fell asleep on top of each other. Ew. And then DDP gets over towards that. Diamond cutter Stevie Ray. Sting tries to roll up Bret, who doesn't understand that he was going for a roll up and falls awkwardly against the ropes. And then Diamond Dallas Page gets the pin on Stevie Ray as number one contender. And the crowd mildly pops because everybody at that time goes, this is it. Confusing. This is what you did with this shit. So DDP wins the match. Obviously, I give this match an F-. I mean, I don't know why I'm grading it.
I don't know. We don't have to talk about it anymore. Is the whole pay-per-view just a failure?
Yeah.
Jimmy wants to win this thing.
Slapjack. He nailed somebody with it.
Hey, for the diamond cutter on Stevie Ray.
It's yours. It's yours if you want it.
1, 2. Diamond Dallas. Diamond Dallas. Diamond Dallas wins.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like this match to me was like somebody coming in my home. They knock on the door and I'm like, hey, I don't want you to come in here. And they're like, I'm coming in. And I'm like, no, seriously, don't come in. And then they come in. And then they're standing in my living room and I'm like, I don't want you here. And they're like, I'm here though. I'm going to stay. I'm going to hang out with you. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I don't want you here. And that goes on for about 30 minutes. That's what this match was to me in my life.
I am so sorry that
it came on my TV and I was like, I need you to go away. It's like, but I got things to do. And I'm like, no, don't do those things. Yeah. But Warrior's got to come out of me and do the trapdoor and the Fog stuff. And I'm like, no, I don't want you to do that. Don't do any of it. And then it just kept doing it. It kept showing me stuff that I didn't want to see. Like here, look at this. I'm like, no, I hate that. And look, well, the Warrior's going to kick it out of the cage now. And I'm like, no, I don't like any of this. Oh, DDP's going to win. I'm like, no, it doesn't make any sense because Bret looked like he fucking tripped by accident, and Sting, everybody looks like they were having sex. And like, I don't like it. I don't like any of this. Like, it was
you
all
had Bret,
bad.
you had Hogan, you had Warrior, you had DDP all working together. It's Sting and all that.
Yeah.
And this is
and there was no interesting spots. There was no storylines. There was no interesting use of the cage.
No, there was storyline. They sacrificed the whole match for Hogan and Warrior. Like, that's what they did.
It was just absolute.
That's Hogan going, I got some creative control here, brother.
That's what it was. It was just absolute garbage for me. It was so much so I was wanting that tank to like turn around and then just blow me in the stomach. Just like take a shot of like.
Can we just end
it was worse than Fall Brawl 1997's match, which was a clusterfuck.
I hate to use Jess's lines from his bad matches reviews, but you guys watch his pay-per-view, so you all don't have to.
Yeah, this was so fucking brutal. The only match that's worth watching is Raven against Saturn.
For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or catch us on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. Last words. I feel like something.
Yeah, and I'm sorry. I apologize to everybody, including you two on this podcast, that Rowdy Piper was in the main event, and I did not make one Rowdy Piper impression. And I'm mad at it but all he did was sleep. He literally just slept. He got out there and he was like, come on, man! And he punched everybody, and he did that. And then after his, because when anybody enters a Royal Rumble or a War Games, they get like their 30 seconds of dominance or whatever. And he did do that, and then people did cheer a little bit sometimes. And then after that, he's like, I'm gonna lay down over that. After he got the slapjack, he literally, I'm not kidding you, Nash and Piper, at least Sting moved a little bit. Luger did. Luger, Nash, and Piper, after the slapjacks, literally, I'm not fucking kidding you, they did not move. They laid, they laid in the same position for at least 10 minutes.
They got together in a plank board protest and said, well, I'm going to get
ridiculous.
paid to not move for like 20 minutes.
So I did not do a Piper impression because he didn't deserve it. God damn it.
You didn't earn it, Piper.
It may not even be his fault.
This pay-per-view doesn't deserve it.
Yeah, it doesn't.
All right, guys. This is Dave, Jess, and Craig with the O.W.P signing off.
I'm sorry. Sorry I made you
should be sorry. Have a good one.